welcome to the GreenBiz studio. I'm Grant Harrison, Director for Sustainable Finance and ESG here at GreenBiz Group, and I'm excited to be speaking today with David Wynn, Director of Product Marketing for Sustainability at Cority. David, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
David, as you know well, a new regulatory regime is taking shape right now this year in ESG. Most notably, we've seen the first in the nation greenhouse gas emissions disclosure and climate-related financial risk reporting laws here where I am in California for companies doing business in California, of which there are many. Worth noting, those go beyond the scope of the SEC proposed climate disclosure rules here in the US. Second, that climate disclosure rule from the SEC, which is set to be released in April of this year, 2024. According to their last regulatory agenda. And third, over where you are, the EU's CSRD, which came into effect this month in January, impacting approximately 50,000 companies within the EU, which is about 75% of EU companies' total revenue, along with an estimated 10,000 or more companies worldwide. So suffice to say, there's a lot to stay on top of. As such, can you first share a bit about the primary challenges or pain points that you hear most commonly from clients as they grapple with these new regulatory reporting demands?
Yeah, sure. So as you say, we've seen a real shift recently from voluntary reporting to regulation coming in and impacting organizations that now need to report on ESG data. One of the key challenges, firstly, has been identifying whether companies are impacted by these regulations. So once companies have identified that, they'll then look to set a program in place to really understand how they can comply with that. Historically, organizations may have seen ESG merely as a project, and we've really seen a shift from project thinking to program thinking, and how companies could embed a clear process within their organization and have the right systems and resources to be able to comply with these regulations.
Got it. And I want to focus on a key word that if a AI bot went through the last 4 years of your standard sustainability or sustainable finance conference, words that might rise to the surface are consistent, comparable, and interoperable. So focusing on that word, help us better understand what's behind that, both in terms of like what we mean granularly when we talk about interoperability, and why is it so important?
Yeah, so data interoperability is extremely important. And in the software space in particular, it's how we think about data now, but also about how we innovate tools to enable data to kind of work as hard as it possibly can. And when it comes to the data that's being collected from across an organization, it's really important that that data can service multiple needs. So one of those key needs is regulation and disclosure. And people often think about sustainability data enabling reporting. And that's a really important role that it has. But it's also extremely important for target setting and decision making. So target setting to be able to rely on those data sets for creating scenarios for the future, and for decision making, where actually within an organization you can understand that, what that organization can do. And the coming together of particularly ESG teams with environmental health and safety teams is really where we see data interoperability coming to the front, really, of how companies are thinking and prioritizing their 2024 strategies.
And all of this we're talking about kind of funnels into the concept of what is a responsible business and how does a business operate sustainably and responsibly, which is kind of a qualitative concept. There's many theories or approaches to understand what that means to be a responsible business, but quantitatively, ESG data, I think it can be said, provides the foundation for how to operate as a sustainable and responsible business. How does that land with you? And if ESG data is that foundation, how is it so?
Yeah, it's really important that these two things go hand in hand. You can't have data without stories, and you can't have stories without data. They need to complement each other, the quantitative side as well as the qualitative side. ESG has had a very much a kind of data focus, But it's important to have that sustainability umbrella that wraps around that. And I think responsible business has come to the forefront of encapsulating both the data and the actions that an organization is doing. And it's great to see those things now coming together more. And people aren't just thinking about initiatives or data in a siloed way.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you to do something no one can actually do, the crystal ball question. But if you did have one, and we were having this conversation, let's say December of 2024, and instead of looking ahead, we were looking back and reflecting on what went well in 2024 in this space, what would you hope to be pointing back to as key success points?
Yeah, I think hopefully looking back on 2024, one of the key success points would be about people understanding the true value of data. I think the regulatory landscape is going to make data critical for businesses. It's going to really put sustainability data within that same bucket of a fiduciary duty of a company of relying on that data. So I think the importance of data is really going to kind of push through this year, and then understanding how technology can enable data to truly kind of service multiple needs, both internally and externally within a business. I feel like those will be, I hope, the 2024 sort of shifts that we see within the ESG and sustainability data landscape.
Well, I hope so as well, David, and I look forward to watching this space with you across the next 11 months here, and also look forward to seeing you in Arizona next month with us at GreenBiz 24, where we'll all hear more about what's happening in this space. Thank you so much, David, for joining us and making us a little smarter here in the GreenBiz studio. You just heard from David Wynn, Director of Product Marketing for Sustainability at Cority. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.